Hey everybody, welcome to the astrology video for December of 2024. Today we're going through all signs of the zodiac, so I'm going to give you the report on all 12 signs. You can click the timestamp below to go straight to your section of the video, and you can watch for your sun, moon, and rising. And also be sure to get my free guide to align your midheaven. So not only will you get that free guide from me about how to work with the energy of your midheaven, but also you're going to get notified when I have a sale on readings. You're going to get notified when I have a new video or a workshop coming up, or when we do live videos on the channel. So if you want to be in the know with everything that's going on, you should get on my email list. You also get a bunch of emails from me and I tell you stories and stuff. Okay, so you will notice that for part of this video, I'm outside, and for some of them I came inside because it got a little loud. So that is why some of these signs are going to be outside and some of them are inside, but either way, I hope you enjoy the video. So let's get into the forecast for December of 2024. Starting with Aries. So for Aries, on the 1st of December, we have the new moon in Sagittarius. That is going to be in your 9th house of higher education, philosophy, the meaning of life. The 9th house is also our belief systems. It's if you're studying something, that's the 9th house. It represents legal issues. It represents astrology. It represents your relationship with your spiritual life and your beliefs. I said that already. What else goes in the 9th house? Trips. But, you kind of have to think about which of those 9th house things is significant in your life right now. Are you studying something? Are you learning something new? Are you taking a course? Aries, maybe it's a time of contemplating what course you're going to take. Because remember, the new moon doesn't mean it's a new beginning starting on that day. The new moon is like when you plant the seed. It's the quiet space for a new thing to emerge out of. But there has to be an emptiness first before the new thing. Like you have to clear the soil before you can plant the seed. And sometimes the new moon is more like the metaphor of clearing the soil. So maybe you're beginning something new or thinking about beginning something new related to traveling or philosophy or things that make your life more meaningful. Now, moving on to the 6th, this is when Mars goes retrograde in Leo. That's going to be your 5th house. So this matters a lot for you, Aries, because you're an Aries. You're ruled by Mars. So the motion of Mars going retrograde on the 6th of December is going to be something in your life going back over it. It doesn't have to be a bad thing. So generally speaking, when the planet that rules your ascendant goes retrograde, you are not launching forward full speed ahead. Usually there is at least something in your life that you're going to be going over, reassessing, or redoing. So I would pay close attention to what's happening on the 6th. What in your life do you have to go back and look at, redo, reassess? And because Mars also rules your 8th house, this could have to do with topics related to debt or what you're investing in. Especially, Mars being in the 5th, it's like, well, are you dating someone and you're going back over that? Do you have kids and are you going back over something? Like, is there soccer practice stopping for a while and then starting again? Are you helping your kid go over their soccer moves or something? It can be any kind of thing related to action, fighting, conflict, winning, that has to do with you and your creativity or your debt or other people's money. So that could be a lot of things. It could show up in so many different ways. You could be deciding how to go over your investments if you have investments. You could be consolidating your debt if you have debt. You could be taking out new credit cards so you can buy clothes. Hopefully not. That's a bad idea. But I'm not here to give you life advice. But still, don't do that. Moving on to the following day, that is going to be the 7th, where Venus enters Aquarius. That's your 11th house of friends, groups, hopes, and dreams. So as of the 7th of December, this is actually a good time for Aries to, some of you might just be getting dressed up like a rock star and then going out. Sometimes Venus in the 11th are people who have this natally are people who like to get all dressed up and go out and see people and go out to shows and go out and like on the town or whatever. That's the weirdest way I could have said that. But Venus rules your 2nd house and your 7th house. So this can be, again, money stuff, like you investing in something that's like a long-term dream, or, second ruler in the 11th, there's a potential that the money could be coming to you at this time, but I wouldn't predict that strongly for every single person. The 7th ruler in the 11th, it's topics related to either close friends or long-term relationships are going to influence your social life. So friends and getting you to go out places. Maybe you meet a friend and then they take you to an event. Or you meet someone and they tell you about something going on and you go and, something about other people or finances that affect the social life, especially the networking and the public side of the social life. Not like the friends you already know that are coming over that you've known for years type of a thing. Okay, so that's on the 7th. We have also just the possibility of enjoying groups, enjoying events, enjoying people, enjoying music in a group, enjoying, getting together and like doing something that involves beauty or that involves, again, dressing up or art or makeup or anything ruled by Venus or perfume. Like maybe you go to a perfume show or something. It depends on what Aries you are. But the point is, from the 7th of December, Aries have more potential to enjoy that 11th house, that most public sector of life. So on the 7th for Aries, Neptune goes direct. That's the 7th of December, and it's going direct in your 12th house. Neptune's been in your 12th house for a long, long time. This isn't a big deal, but the direct motion, the direct and the retrograde are going to be the times where that energy has the potential to kind of like kick up a little bit. So Neptune in the 12th can be vivid dreams. It can be a desire to escape or to enjoy your fantasy life or to, it actually brings ease to the 12th house, and going direct there might be a point or a focal point in your life around enjoying the subconscious, wanting to focus on the subconscious, really getting into what you're afraid of and wanting to explore your fears or explore other realms or do hypnotherapy or, do altered states of consciousness, things like this. Okay, moving on to the 15th, we have the full moon in Gemini at 23 degrees. This is in your 3rd house of communication. This full moon is a full moon is going to be that area of your life can be very, very full, right? So it's not just the ending. That's not really how new and full moons work. It's the culmination of something 3rd house related. So to know what this is, you have to figure out which 3rd house thing you're doing right now, Aries. Are you commuting? And do you have the biggest commute you've ever had? Is your life full of driving? Are you focused on your car or fixing it or taking care of it or nurturing it or getting it all souped up or like nurturing your car or giving it what it needs? Are you focused on your immediate environment? Are you busy running around from place to place to place on the 15th or around that time? Are you focusing on another 3rd house topic like writing or your marketing or whether you're being heard or how you're coming across or just having a bunch of conversations? Around the 15th, your life could just be full of these conversations, and that's not necessarily good or bad. But because we have that new moon in the 9th, full moon in the 3rd, this is like the difference between the 9th house being like our spiritual life, the deeper meaning of things and our relationship with God or higher power or the universe. And then the 3rd house is more like, I have to go to the store and get groceries. It's like I am here in a body and doing physical stuff. And in my environment, like I'm existing right here, right now in this place, I'm embodied. Okay. So throughout the whole month, there could be almost like an increase or an increased desire to focus more on the spirit world or the meaningful side of life, and at the same time, on the 15th, it's like you're busy doing stuff. Now, a lot of people are going to be busy Christmas shopping and stuff at this time for those who celebrate, but like maybe there's something else that makes your life more full in this particular area at this time. So on the 15th of December, Mercury goes direct in Sagittarius. Mercury went retrograde back at the end of November. So having your 3rd house ruler retrograde during a full moon in the 3rd house makes me feel like it's definitely something probably needing to change around your day-to-day schedule, your day-to-day routines, or your commute or something, like a schedule change change or something. Mercury going direct in Sagittarius on the 15th might be big or it might be small. It might just be like you buy a book you wanted to learn, or you start studying a philosopher you're really into, or something else where that ninth house of study or meaning of life or education or things that are meaningful to you ends up getting able to go forward now. And again, we have to consider that because Mercury rules the 3rd and 6th, that for you, Mercury retrogrades are kind of like replanning your schedule and reassessing your habits. So habits might also be a topic that on the 15th feels like it's moving forward now that you got more information or you figured something out that was revealed to you in December. All right. So on the 21st of December, the sun enters Capricorn. That's going to be your 10th house. For you, the sun rules your 5th house of creativity. So this might be a time where you're thinking about how to be more creative at work. You're able to express yourself more in your role. You feel more like you are being seen for what you've accomplished in your job or in your role. And it may be, in general, the sun in the 10th is a time where you're going to put more focus on work, your role in life, your role in the world, what you've accomplished. You're going to be thinking more about what you've accomplished. You're going to be focused more on maybe stepping up to some kind of responsibility, whether that be in your actual job or whether that be a role that you take on, like in your family, for example. Like maybe you're the one hosting Christmas or something else like that, where there's more heightened awareness of your responsibilities, but it feels like fun. It's like throwing a party where you have to get everything ready, or it's like getting recognized for something, having your boss there when they're normally not there, and having to have everything on the up and up. It can be anything like that, where there's a focus on rules, there's a focus on expressing yourself at work or enjoying work, or just focusing on what needs to be accomplished in your work life. So then on to the 30th of December, we have the new moon in Capricorn. So this will be happening in your 10th house. So this will be a time for new beginnings related to your role, your work life, what you're planting seeds for the next cycle when it comes to what you want to accomplish. So the sun there on the 21st is like foreshadowing, right? It's almost like bringing some heightened awareness to goals you want to set, which is really, really normal for this time of year, right? Even though I will rant in a different video on why I don't do New Year's resolutions on the 1st. It's like the worst time, but it is the best time to be thinking about what you've accomplished and to be going over what you've achieved, what's stopped you, what's helped you, and how you can create more of whatever success you do have or whatever you have accomplished in your life at this time. Very, very natural for Aries to do this during this season. But also, I just feel like with the sun in the 10th, and after all this 3rd, 9th house activity for you, Aries, it feels to me like it's almost like reassessing what's really meaningful and what really matters, and either bringing yourself back to reality a little bit if your head has been up in the clouds a little bit, and that's fine. It's almost like maybe you've been on a spiritual journey or in a more meaningful stage, and now it's time to integrate what you've learned and bring it into reality and make it like happen in the physical world. So that is what I have for Aries, and we're going to move on to the next sign, which is Taurus. All right, Taurus, for December of 2024, on December 1st, we have the new moon in Sagittarius. That is at 9 degrees, and it is in your 8th house of sex, death, and other people's money. So this can be new beginnings related to sharing, intimacy, other people's money, especially sharing financial stuff, like splitting the bills or things related to debt or investments if you have them. So you kind of have to think about how other people's money are tied up in your life at this time. It'll be a new beginning around that, or something new that hasn't happened before, but it could be a new beginning to transformation. And if that's the case, on the 1st, you're probably going to become aware of what you want to transform, what you want to change, what you need to release, what you need to let go of. On the 6th, Mars goes retrograde in Leo. That is going to be your 4th house of home, of your foundations emotionally. You can be fighting with someone at your house. There can be more activity at home, though. It might not be fighting. It might be you got a home gym. It might be you are working out and lifting weights at home, or doing yoga at home, or like doing construction or doing other things that require movement and activity at your house. Sometimes it's that. But for you, Mars rules the 12th and the 7th. So it could also be if you have a partner, they're home more, during Mars retrograde, or even Mars on the 4th, like you're seeing them more at home. They're coming home more. They're doing stuff with you at home. If you don't, then ignore that. But Mars also rules your 12th house, which is like your subconscious mind. So you might be spending more time, even November and December, thinking about what pisses you off, but like in more of an evolved way, in more of a spiritual way, where you're maybe getting clear about how you feel about things that used to make you angry, or getting clear about how you can express your anger in a healthy way, or say no to people, or, maybe you're exploring the psychological foundations of what pisses you off, or what you need to say no to, or where you need to sever or cut ties with things or people, because Mars rules severing and cutting ties and saying no, and the cutting like knives and, sharp objects. So it could be, there could be like one Taurus out there who's like, no, I'm just sharpening my knives and buying new kitchen knives or something, right? It can be that literal sometimes, but for the most part, Mars in the 4th house brings more activity to your home and your family life, but it's like retrograde is like, we're going to rewind this and go a different direction or something. And so it doesn't necessarily mean you are like not going to do something huge with family, but maybe there's a change to plans. Okay, so on the 6th, consider there might be a change to plans to something you were getting ready for at home, or getting ready for related to family. On the 7th, Venus enters Aquarius. That is your 10th house of your public image, your work environment. If you go to a job, what you're known for. Okay, so Venus in the 10th can just be work becomes more enjoyable, or it has more Venus type things, which could be music, or it could be wearing dresses to work, or more beauty, or more like you work with someone who you really enjoy, or you get to do a project that you love, where you get to like do art with it or make it beautiful or something. And because you're a Taurus rising, Venus rules you, it kind of suggests that it might just be you are working more, or you are focusing on your public image this month, or you are enjoying or receiving something at work. Maybe there's more candy at work because it's the holidays or something. It could be something that literal, but something will sweeten up that 10th house of your public image and your work life. And it might be you. It might be you sweetening it up, which could be like you using your soothing, beautiful voice. Or it could be like you bringing candy to the workplace, or doing something else to like make it more of a treat. Okay, so going on to the 7th, also on the 7th, Neptune will go direct in your 11th house. So this might be a time where you're more go with the flow or easygoing when it comes to your public life, especially your friends and the things you want to do to have fun. I would say watch out for if you have a feeling around the 7th, Taurus, about your long-term future goals, I would say especially if you're feeling confused in this area, just wait for that feeling to pass, because it will. Neptune going direct can bring Neptune issues to the surface, and wherever Neptune is in our chart, we feel more loosey-goosey, meandery when it comes to that area. So Neptune can soften it. It can dissolve things. It can make things more confusing. So Neptune going direct on the 7th could just bring something socially with other people that you have to navigate. That's like, I don't really know how to handle this situation. I'm not clear on what's going on. So if that's the case, just maybe wait for clarity, because that Neptune just doesn't let you know what's going on. That's how that goes. On the 15th, of course, that depends on the situation. So use your judgment there. On the 15th, the full moon will be in Gemini, and that is your second house of money. So sometimes when the full moon is in your second house, you'll get like a bonus or a raise, or there'll be a fullness, right? Because the moon is full in your second house. That means your bank account might be fuller than it normally is. You might have saved a bunch and now you're like, okay, I'm ready to spend it, or something like that. Okay, so the full moon in the second does not mean your job ends. It does not mean there's an ending to your second house. It actually means that your second house activities of your possessions and your income are as full as they can be. And that might be that they're taking a fuller part in your life, like you're busier making money around the 15th, that could be that. Or it could be you're working overtime or you're doing something else that would bring you more income. But it could also be that you get a bonus, or it could be that you have a lot of stuff and your house is full of stuff that you bought over however much time, or your garage is full or something, and you're like, this is full, I got to get rid of some things, right? So it could be that. It could also be you putting a certain focus around one of your possessions and just like loving it or having it, you know, like maybe you just got a couch and you just love your couch. It could be anything like that. Okay, so next we have the 15th. Mercury will go direct in Sagittarius. Mercury has been retrograde all December, and it's going to go direct in your 8th house of Sagittarius. And for Taurus, I have to fix something here. Let me just add this in. There we go. Nope, not like that, like that. Okay, so for, shoot. I have to be smarter than the object I'm working with. Nope. I did this wrong like 20 times because I'm on camera doing it. That's my excuse. Come on. I just cannot get the row to where it's supposed to be. Oh my God. Okay, I'll have to remember to cut this part out. Watch me flip out on inanimate objects and then call myself spiritual. I should just leave that shit in and add bloopers. I really have always wanted to add bloopers, but I never can figure out like how to do it video wise, so I've never done it. Okay, we're back on Taurus. Wait. Yes, Taurus. And we are on Mercury direct in Sagittarius. So for Taurus, Mercury goes direct in Sagittarius. That's going to be on the 15th of December in your 8th house. Again, we have the house of sex, death, and other people's money, where that new moon was on the 1st being focused on here. And Mercury going direct here, Mercury rules your 2nd house, so it's your money planet. Your money planet has been retrograde. So lots of focusing on like, what do we need to do with our money this month? You know, all of December, end of November, just what needs to be changed? Are we overspending? Did we buy too much stuff? Are we figuring out our investment portfolio and figuring out like which thing is going to get the most dividend if we invest it? Are we like, what are we doing here? There's going back over what we owe, going back over what we've lent, going back over what we're spending for a joint effort or a joint business or a joint relationship. Or going back over what we've gotten out of some kind of contract or agreement that focuses on you and someone else, and realizing what needs to be different. So then by that 15th of December, there might be an ability to move forward with a new plan related to finances and or related to dating or related to kids, because Mercury rules your 5th house too. So you got to think about, are you dating? What kind of 5th house stuff are you doing, Taurus, right now? Are you dating? Are you just having fun with your buddies? Are you creating something? Do you have your own business? Are you gambling? Are you risking investments? Like that could be a 5th house thing. The 8th house is the investment though. And that's where Mercury is. So it's like, we might be having a conversation with someone else about money, someone that we're connected to financially. We might be doing all kinds of stuff, but those are the main ones, is like something changing related to finance, how much we're sharing, how much we're spending, how much we're doing it independently versus doing it collectively with someone else or a group. Okay, so for some, maybe some Tauruses, let me know if this resonates, but maybe some Tauruses are leaving a group or a marketing thing or something where you thought it was going to make you more money, but it didn't. Like, I'm thinking of something like you know how they have those, like networking community organizations where everyone goes and like they pay dues and they all help each other. I'm thinking something like that, or even an online portal or an online site where you pay a certain amount to be listed, and then your listing either brings you money or it doesn't. Okay, so maybe some Tauruses are leaving a situation like this where they're putting money in the pot, but they're not getting their share back. And for some of you, maybe it's more like, what are those called? Where with sports, fantasy football or something. So maybe it's like that. Okay, going on to the 21st when the sun enters Capricorn. This is your 9th house. Yay to the sun in the 9th house is a beautiful moment because the sun has its joy in the 9th. And it's like, even though it's in Capricorn and it's a little more focused on the negative things, this is like you having a meditation practice or you focusing on a Buddhism practice, right? Because the sun rules your 4th house. So it's like your emotions are able to be brought to a higher power, or the way you feel. Your emotional foundation is like encouraging you to like shine the light onto religion or philosophy or some belief system. Maybe it's not religion. If you follow me, it might not be religion, and that's fine. But some kind of belief system. And with it in Capricorn, I think of things like Stoicism or Buddhism or, things where you're focusing on the negative in a way that is beautiful and spiritual and deep and lovely, like if someone doesn't like you, let them. That's such a beautiful, deep, spiritual concept. But it really, when you have Capricorn on that 9th house, sometimes that's the kind of spiritual, deep wisdom you want, is the real practical stuff that you can see working. So there might be a focus here on some kind of religion or belief or study or again, belief system that is like, you need to be able to see that it works. You're testing it, you're measuring it, you're seeing what's working, what's not working, and what elements of it apply to your life or don't apply to your life. Something along those lines. It really could also be just like a time of year where Tauruses get a little bit more spiritual. And they get a little bit more contemplative, right? Because the sun rules that 4th house. It's like how you feel when you're by yourself, how you feel in your own skin. But it's the way you feel in your own skin being brought to a spiritual place or a spiritual situation, even if that's just like an altar in your own home or your own just room or something, where you're meditating or something. So there might be a much more spiritual focus coming here for Tauruses on the 21st. Now going on to the last event I have for this month for Taurus, for all of us, and that is the new moon in Capricorn on December 30th. That's going to be in your 9th house. So we have the sun enter Capricorn on the 21st, really bringing that focus on maybe what you're going to do in the next cycle of life, in the next few, months, years, whatever, of how spiritual you want to be. How much you want to travel, how much you want to study, how much you want to know, how educated you want to be, what you need to do, what kind of belief systems you want to test and measure and experiment with coming in the next time. This might just be a very spiritual time or a very spiritual day, the 31st, lots of contemplation, right? Because that 4th house ruler is the sun. It's in the 9th, the new moon. The moon is invisible, which means there's going to be growth, but on the 30th, there will be the seed planted in that 9th house. Maybe it's a new course you want to join. Maybe it's a book you bought and you just haven't started reading yet. Maybe it's something else that's like following a mentor or teacher that's going to teach you something you want to know. Or maybe it's just the empty space before you find those things where you realize how you want your belief systems or your spiritual life or your studies to be going forward. So that is what I have for Taurus. Let me know in a comment if it resonates, and I'll see you beautiful souls in the next video. Let's go on to our next sign, which is our Geminis. Okay, so for Gemini, Sun, Moon, and Rising, December 1st, we have the new moon in Sagittarius. That's going to be in your 7th house of relationships and close friends. If you are single, this is going to be like your close friends. If you're in a relationship, it doesn't mean you're getting a new one. It just means a new phase, a new beginning. And sometimes with the new moon, it's a quiet time. It's a quiet time of that thing. So with the new moon in the 7th, if you're in a relationship, maybe you're just chilling out with your partner and you guys don't have a lot going on and you're just like enjoying not doing shit together, or maybe they're gone for the weekend, or there's something about the relationship that's making it a quiet time where you're not putting energy into it. Also for single Geminis, maybe you're thinking about what you want in relationships or close friendships, but that those seeds are not quite planted, or you're planting those seeds at this time. Remember, the new moon is not just the first day you start something. The new moon is like the quiet time in between. So it's like more like the empty seventh house, the emptiness of not having a relationship, the emptiness of, I think of the Taylor Swift song, The Blank Page, right? It's the blank page. So on the 6th, Mars goes retrograde in Leo. That's your third house of communication. And it's also your commute. It's your local environment. So we could see a lot of different possibilities here for Gemini. When Mars is in the 3rd, usually you're busier. But having it go retrograde, it's almost like you have pressure to be busy, but the thing you're working on just slows down or comes to a screeching halt and has to be like turned around. I don't know what that would be. So that could be anything. It could also be like there's construction in your neighborhood, and it's like something makes you have to have a detour or something. And then because Mars rules your 11th house and your 6th house, the 11th house is like your community. So your community, people in your community could be moving, they could be coming over. There could be some activity in your local environment. Like maybe your friends are coming to you to a coffee shop nearby or something. I don't know what you guys do. And then the 6th house is like your problems, the stuff you got to deal with day to day. It's like your schedule also, and like how you spend your time. So 6th ruler in the 3rd, it's busy. You have shit to do. You just have shit to do, Gemini, on the 6th. That's kind of, but because it goes retrograde, it's like you got done with some stuff. You have to do new stuff. You have to do stuff you weren't expecting. The thing you were going to do, it's like, it's as if, let's just imagine that you are, one of the things you're doing right now is you're like, I don't know, getting your tabs or filling out some government paperwork. And then now is the time where you did it, but it's like you're just waiting for the thing to come back, and it's done. There's nothing to be done, but everything comes to a halt because you can't do anything until you get the next thing. It's kind of that energy. So this isn't going to necessarily be bad, but it's not like, yay, Mars is retrograde in the 3rd. You know, it's like, something has to kind of run its course or something. Okay, what else do we have? On the 7th, Venus enters Aquarius. That's going to be your 9th house. Good time to enjoy spirituality, enjoy reading, enjoy listening to podcasts on your favorite philosophical topics. Maybe considering travel, enjoying foreigners, enjoying speaking another language, enjoying any kind of 9th house activity. But you got to think about which one of those things is more related to your life. So if you speak other languages, if you go to church, if you go to a spiritual group where you meditate, especially because Venus rules your 12th house, if you are publishing something, you know, Venus is a time to enjoy any of those topics of life. Maybe you're enjoying writing. Maybe you have a really nice publisher. Usually when people publish, I don't hear that is their experience, but maybe you have a very nice publisher. Maybe someone gorgeous is speaking another language to you or teaching you another language. Maybe you are just loving something about humanity in the world right now. I don't know. Because that Venus in Aquarius is kind of like love of all the people and all the different aspects of humanity, and love for all the new systems, you know, like enjoying efficiency or new inventions or multicultural global connection, right? Venus in Aquarius wants to connect to the whole world, but maybe not the person next to them. And that's not a dig on you guys, any of you Venus and Aquarius is out there, but that's what you're focused on enjoying. You're enjoying the whole world. You're enjoying the diversity or some new invention, some new idea. All right, on the 7th, Neptune goes direct in your 10th house. This is going to be not a huge one, but it does matter. And it can be a time on the 7th where you feel a little bit more confused about your life direction, especially when it comes to whether it's meaningful or not. I would say just give it a few days before you make any decisions, because Neptune tends to cloud things. It might just make your work life that day feel like you're on a treasure hunt and you never find the treasure, and every clue is like to a different clue. Okay, going on to the 15th for the full moon in Gemini. This is in your first house, Geminis. It's a full moon in your sign. So it's a time where your life is at its fullest. It's at its peak, at least for this cycle. It's a time where there's importance placed on you, your life direction, what you're doing, your body, where you are, and who you are. So on the 15th or around the 15th, you just might need to show up in a bigger way than you normally do. So on the 15th, maybe there is more focus on you, like you being you for whatever reason. Maybe because you're hosting a party, maybe because you're showing up to one, maybe because you're just involved in something. It kind of gives the feeling like you're involved in something. Okay, going on to the 15th, where Mercury goes direct in Sagittarius. That's your 7th house. Now we have a plan for how we're going to be going forward in our relationship, going forward with our future plans and dreams and things that are inspiring. We have a plan for whatever was, the issue that we've been working through. We have a plan for whatever was the issue that we were working through this last month, since the end of November, with Mercury going direct in that 7th house of relationships. It's like, who do you want to be in your relationships, and how do you want to feel in your relationships, and what have you realized recently that now you're ready to change, or you know how to change that you didn't know how to change before, or what are you ready to say to the people closest to you? What are you ready to express, to get off your chest? All of this is going to be at the forefront on December 15th or around then, when Mercury goes direct. And on the 21st, we have the sun entering Capricorn. That's going to be your 8th house of sex, death, and other people's money. So the sun in the 8th house can bring focus to how you are merging your resources with other people. And since the sun rules your 3rd house, some of you, this might have to do with your car or your commute or how you get from place to place. The sun entering your 8th house might also just bring focus on your debt, your investments, your income that you get from other people, income that you owe other people, things you owe people, things other people owe you. Any of these things can come into play during this time. And yeah, it might be also a time where you're thinking about your long-term goals as they relate to how much independence versus dependence you have in your life. Who's dependent on you? Who are you dependent on? And is that working for you and doesn't line up with what you want? And then the 30th, December 30th, there is the new moon in Capricorn. So that new moon in your 8th house is going to be kind of transferring the energy, right? Because we had the 7th house and the 1st house earlier in the month, which is like you versus other people. But now it's other people's money and what you share, what you combine with other people, how intimate you are with other people. And really, when I think of the 8th house, it's like how much in your life is shared with others and how much in your life is individual. On the 30th of December, you might find that you're focused on this and you're considering what maybe you want to shift or see happen in that area of life in the next period of time. So there might be some thoughts around who you're sharing with. Do you want to be sharing with them? And if you're not sharing with anyone, and how much you'd like to share your resources or share your time or get to know people more deeply, that deeper connection that 8th house has, that new beginning. Sometimes when the new moon is there, this is December 30th, you might not feel like it's a busy area, right? You might be aware of how empty it is. You might be aware of how much you want that area of intimacy to fill up or to be showing up in your life. So if that's the case, that's a really good time to plant seeds for that. So that is what I see for Geminis for December. Let me know in a comment if you relate to this, and I will see you in the next video. Now on to Cancers. So for Cancers for December of 2024, we start on December 1st, where we have this new moon in Sagittarius in your 6th house of work, of pets, of health, of things that you have to kind of take care of. The 6th house is kind of like problems, like day-to-day stuff you got to do, chores, stuff you got to do. So a new moon here may not be like, you might not notice some huge crazy energy, and that's fine. But it might actually be a time where you have less chores, you have less you have to do, and there's more blank space, because the new moon is that time where there's no light, there's no energy being put on that place. It's not exactly a new beginning. People say that, but it's more like the moment of pause before a new beginning. So it's like maybe your schedule got emptied out. Maybe you have a little bit more space or time in your life for some reason at this moment. Maybe you're about to go do something or take on something in your life that requires a lot more from you. And maybe it's the kind of stuff that is not like work that you get paid for. It's like taking care of others or doing the dishes or doing other things that are nice to do and being of service to others. But on the first, it might be the moment where you're thinking about that, or it's quieted down and it's ready. That area of life is ready to build up. Okay, so for the 6th of December, for Cancers, Mars goes retrograde in your second house on that day. So this might be a time where you're thinking about, or there's focus on how much money you're making from what you're doing. And there might be a problem or a challenge to overcome here, or it might just be a change. Because Mars rules your 10th house, and that's the house of what you do. It's like your job, your role. And the second house is how much money you make from that role. So generally speaking, when the 10th ruler's in the second, we're going to see like a focus on how much money you're making for the work you do. Does it give you, like, are you making enough money, Cancer? Are you getting paid for what you do? Are you getting compensated enough for what you're doing? And maybe the answer is hell yes, and you get a bonus. But usually Mars doesn't, I mean, it can bring more activity to an area of life, but usually in the second house, that means you're working more. So maybe you have to go back and work hard on something you've already done and like redo it or reinvest your money, or like go over something related to a paycheck or something. Like maybe you didn't get all the money on a recent paycheck and you need to like check and see what happened and where the money went. There can be something going on with your finances on the 6th that kind of makes it feel a little bit slower, or like it's stopping and going the other direction. So also this could be you spending your money. When Mars is in the second house, sometimes you will spend all your money. So maybe this is especially true if you feel like maybe you've overspent since November when Mars entered Leo. And then it's like, oh, now you go back and you see that you shouldn't have spent X, Y, and Z, or you were getting overcharged here or something like that. So there's definitely a focus on finances. There's no other way this is going to show up. It's going to be money. So, and some of you, it might be something a little more intentional, like maybe you're selling something you bought last month that you don't like, so you're selling it, or you're taking it back, or you're trying to get a refund, or it could be something like that too. On the 7th, Venus enters Aquarius. For Cancers, this is your 8th house. This could be enjoying getting to know somebody more deeply. It could be enjoy getting closer, or spending quality time with someone you already know, that you're already intimate with, that you're already, and that intimacy can be like family. It doesn't have to be love, but it can be like romantic, but it can be like getting closer to anyone, right? And Venus rules your 11th and your 4th. So that 11th house is going to be like people that you know in groups, like a group of people, and there's like intimacy in a group, or you meet someone in a group and they become close, or you understand how they feel or their problems or something. There can be something positive about this though, because it's Venus. So when Venus goes into your 8th house, this could be someone else just gives you something lovely. It could be that you get a gift of some kind. It could be that because like, it's like someone gives you a present, or someone gives you perfume, or someone gives you a dress, or someone gives you something that you can wear. That's like an item of clothing or something like that. Like, or they give you a compliment or something. So that could be just a nice little gift on the 7th, or during this time when Venus is in Aquarius. You're more likely to get nice, loving responses from the people you're closest to. So that's a good thing to know. Okay, so on the 15th, we have the full moon in Gemini. That's going to be in your 12th house. So for Cancers, this is a time where you might just be more contemplative. You know, the 12th house is the house of isolation. It's like meditation. It's our spirit guides. It's when we get quiet and we're connecting to our own psychology. It's like when you get quiet enough to hear your own thoughts and your own feelings. And that on the 15th, that 12th house is full. So you might just get some privacy. You might get some quiet time. You might be recovering from something. I don't know. Maybe you hurt your foot and you're sitting around and you're just watching TV and you're just like don't have to do a bunch of stuff. Maybe the things you were going to do got canceled and you're staying home. Anything that involves privacy, quiet time, but it can also be something more deliberate, like you have a very productive session with a therapist, or you have a very productive astrology consultation, or you have something else very positive that helps you understand your subconscious mind or your tendency to self-sabotage, or the things you don't normally see. So this would be a good time if you want to use this full moon to just contemplate things you normally don't look at, or try, if you want to go deeper to understand the root cause of like a limiting belief, or the root cause of a scenario you keep finding yourself in over and over that you think you could be possibly contributing to, the 15th would be a very, very good time for that. Now going on to also the 15th is Mercury goes direct in Sagittarius. That's your 6th house. So maybe now there's some ability to move forward related to, maybe you have chores to do. Maybe you have a bunch of work you have to get done. Maybe you're trying to figure out how to accomplish certain things, but it's like there had to be some fiddling with it to figure out the schedule, to figure out how you're going to do it. Usually when Mercury's in the 6th, you're busy. You're going back and forth. You're doing a little bit of this and a little bit of that. You're doing chores on the side of after work. You're taking care of someone. You have someone staying at your house. And, it's like you have the thing you normally do, and there's another thing you're juggling it with. And so on the 15th, that energy is going to be moving forward now. So it's like, now I can have the person come over. Now I can do this other thing I wanted to do. Now I can finally, go clean out that other room I wanted to clean out, or something else along those lines, where it's like a project you wanted to work on, or a project you have to work on. Sometimes it's something you have to do. It's not something you want to do. It just depends. So there's that. And then on the 21st, the sun will enter Capricorn. That's going to be your 7th house. That's relationships. And the sun rules the 2nd. So that's your money planet in the relationship house. That's going to be on the 21st. For Cancers, we're going to focus on, maybe you're buying gifts for your significant other. Maybe you're buying gifts for your friends. Maybe you're taking your friends out to lunch. Maybe you are focusing on talking to people and connecting with other people, but based on goals, based on long-term potential. Maybe you are networking. Maybe you are meeting someone new who you think is going to help you in business or in work. Maybe you're connecting with people like that, and the connections are business related, and they're things that have to do with what needs to get done and what needs to get accomplished, and there's conversations about these things. What needs to be accomplished to solve the problems that are happening, and that could be at work, it could be at home, it could be anything. So then focus on relationships. It's focusing on other people, really, is what the sun does in the 7th. So now on to December 30th, where we have the new moon in Capricorn in that 7th house of relationships. This does not mean if you're in a relationship, it's going to end. It's a new cycle in relationship related to goals. What goals do you want to reach with your partner? What do you guys want to do together? What do you want to accomplish? If you don't have a partner, what do you want to accomplish single? What do you want to accomplish when it comes to the kind of people you want in your life? Who are the important other people in your life, and is being connected to them reaching you, getting you closer to your goals, or further away from them? And if it's getting you closer, how does that need to continue? If it's not, what needs to change? It's all this kind of stuff about like long-term high potential of your life, what mountain you're climbing and who you're climbing it with. That's what I see on December 30th. But remember, that new moon doesn't bring the big activity and the culmination of that thing. The new moon brings the planting the seed of what is the next mountain. Maybe you're halfway up the mountain you're up, but still, are the people with you coming? Or are they lagging behind? Or are you the one lagging behind and someone else is going up a different mountain and you need to figure out what to do? It's that kind of thing. So lots of focus on the 30th for Cancers on what you're accomplishing and who you're doing it with. So that is what I have for you guys for December. Let me know in a comment, please, if it resonated. I always love hearing from you, and I'll see you beautiful souls in the next video. Bye, guys. Okay, so for Leo, we start with the new moon in Sagittarius on the 1st of December, which is going to be in your 5th house of fun. So the new moon in the fun house is not necessarily the moment where you are going to be out on the town or like out enjoying your creativity, doing fun things. It's actually going to be the moment where you are maybe the creative juices or maybe the passion or the dating or the creative things you've been working on, whatever applies to you from the 5th house, might be quieter. It might quiet down. It might be more like an empty space that you get to consider how you want to fill up for this phase going forward. So that is what I see for the 1st. It's a good time to plant seeds for what you want to see. So if you are dating or if your dating life is in focus right now, then that might be something to consider. And it might just be like the quiet time where there aren't any dates or the person you were dating is out of town or something. So just know that that's what that new moon for you is particularly good for, is how do you want to express yourself moving forward, from what you wear to what you have to say, to what creative projects you want to birth into being. So that's what I see for Leos for the 1st of December. And then on to the 6th, we have Mars goes retrograde in Leo. That's your 1st house. So this is going to affect you guys strongly because your 1st house rules you, your body, and what's happening. If you feel a change in your energy level on the 6th, that is normal and totally natural as Mars kind of stations retrograde. So when planets station retrograde, they get the slowest they'll ever be. So Mars is going slow, which means that this is a time for you to maybe you feel like you have a lot of pressure to get things done, but you can't do any of it on this day. Maybe there is a project you've been working on that had some certain momentum that needs to be stopped and reassessed. And we can consider that for you, Mars rules the 9th and the 4th house. So the 9th house is going to be publishing, belief systems, astrology. The 9th house is going to be your what's meaningful to you. And then the 4th house is going to be your emotional foundation. And so what that's going to be is like how you feel when you're by yourself. And that becomes a topic that's connected to your identity. So are you identifying with your new belief system, with an old belief system? Are you quitting identifying with a certain belief system or a spiritual way, especially of processing emotions or something? Is there something you want to sever from or separate from related to these things? Any of this could be happening on the 6th for Leos. Okay, going on to the 7th, we have Venus entering Aquarius in the 7th house, and that's going to be your partnerships and other people. So even if you're single, the 7th house is still others. Okay, it's still other people you're around and those significant other people in your life. And Venus entering that sign does usually tend to bring some kind of ease or flow or something nice, either a nice gift from another person, but really just almost like the nice ability to enjoy others, the ability to enjoy the people around you, a new friend or an old friend, or, some kind of connection or ease or enjoyment happening with other people. And Venus ruling your 10th also suggests this could be something related to your work or the work you do in the world or your public image, that somehow your work, maybe you meet someone through work that's a really nice blessing to your life, or that you just really enjoy being around, but there's a potential to really enjoy others during this time and especially enjoy what's unique about them. All right, on to the 15th of December, where we have the full moon in Gemini. That's in your 11th house of your hopes and dreams. And it's also your social life, the other people you're around, whether it be people you're around through work, like connections and collaborative people that aren't necessarily your close friends, colleagues, people you're networking with, people you meet at events, whatever you do, people in your social media communities online that you're connected to. This is on the 15th. This is full. So some Leos could be like going to an online workshop where they're connecting with a bunch of people or creating one, or maybe if you have an audience on social media and you're a Leo, maybe the audience is growing and like there's a lot of focus on that in your life at this time. But the 11th house is also just like good things, good money, especially, right? It's like money from the work we've done. It's like bonuses. It's like extra additional money. So when the full moon in Gemini, it's just not like every Leo is going to be a millionaire on this day, but some of you could be getting a bonus. Some of you could be getting some extra cash. Some of you could be just enjoying time with your friends or enjoying your social life, or have a lot to do. The full moon is like that area of life is full, and your 11th house is social obligations. So you just might have a lot of parties to go to, and this might not be something, depending on which Leo you are, you might not, it might be stuff you have to do that's social, right? It might be social obligations, Christmas parties, your partner's Christmas party you have to attend, things like this that are more, on the list of things you have to do, but it keeps that social life and that connection with other people filled up at this time. Okay. Also on the 15th, Mercury goes direct in Sagittarius. That is your 5th house that we had the new moon in on the 1st. So it's almost as if the new moon on the 1st brought up some maybe, or clarified some new desire. Any new desire. And by the 15th, maybe we know how to go forward in this area. Because Mercury rules your 2nd house though, and your 11th house, these are both money houses. So because they're both money houses, on the 15th, you might be moving forward with financial matters after reassessing them or addressing them, or, having to go back through something. And that could be something as simple as like a few payments you didn't know were made and you're going back through and checking them out. It could be something as big as like, this is how I make my money and I need to change it so I can do this and this and this, especially from the standpoint of like, how can you manage your finances or your life or your financial life so that you can enjoy things more? Or for some, it's going to be, what are you investing in, or what can you invest in that would be supporting to your ability to enjoy your life, right? So maybe you're just buying stuff that you enjoy. That's fun. You might be spending money on stuff that you like to do, or figuring out something, right? It has an energy of like figuring something out or talking something out, or like getting down to the little details of something fun and enjoyable. So some of you Leos on the 15th, maybe you're just doing something fun. You're playing word games with your friends, right? And it's like, it's fun. It's the details. It's mentally active. Or planning a trip with your kids or something. So just know it could show up in a multiple of different ways. So take what resonates and leave the rest. All right. So now we're going to go on to the 21st, where the sun enters Capricorn. That's your 6th house, the 6th house of what you got to do. On the 21st, you're probably focusing on obligations, responsibilities, how you can be of service to others. Maybe you have some obligations to your family or your friends or your social connections or your work at this time that are in the spotlight or focused on. Because it's Capricorn though, it's like we're focusing on the hard work that needs to be done. We're focusing on the mountain we want to climb. Some of you Leos, it might be like putting a spotlight on what next thing you want to accomplish. But for a lot of you on the 21st, the sun's going to illuminate what you have to do, what you have to get done. You might feel more pressure or more of a need to like check things off your to-do list. And because you are the sun, right? You are a Leo. You're going to be the one getting the things done, accomplishing things, putting in some work, cleaning out the garage, doing whatever you need to do that is like that thing that has to happen, and it has to get done. It needs to get done. It might be something you want to do. It might just be something you have to do. Now on the 30th, we have the new moon in Capricorn, also in the 6th house. So now the sun has been here. You've been doing stuff you got to do. And now it's time to quiet down and not have as much to do. That makes a lot of sense based on the season, but just for Leos in general, that new moon in Capricorn on the 30th of December in your 6th house can bring a release of the responsibilities, like a feeling of like, okay, we're done. We don't have anything to do. Let's just sit and put our feet up, kind of a thing. But it can also be a time where you're contemplating the next wave of things to do, right? Because the new moon implies that area will be growing, right? Because the amount of light in the house where the moon is like how full it is, how much activity is going on. So on the 30th, we have quietude. We have less chores. We're doing our chores in peace. or we have completed the project and now it's just, so what's next? Maybe there will be thoughts about this at this time. Maybe there will not be. But it does feel with the sun here in the 6th house and then Mercury in the 5th going direct, it's almost like maybe there'll be time for like percolating some kind of plan to move forward to like figure out what the next plan is, the next to-do list is for the next like creative thing you want to do, the next creative, I want to say impulsive, that's not the right word, the next generative thing that you're like trying to move forward in life that isn't necessarily about the accomplishment. It's about the joy of doing it, right? Because we did have that new moon on the 1st. And so it does feel like this month for Leos, December 2024, is about planting the seeds for how you want to enjoy your life going forward. And maybe taking care of some responsibilities along the way that just happen to be happening at this time. And then getting that sort of out of the way so you can move forward with your plan or some new idea of what you want to accomplish, what you want to create, what you want to manifest in the next stage of life. So I think this will be a fun, exciting month for Leo to really get into their thoughts about what they want to create next and what they want to do next. So that is what I have for Leos. Let me know in a comment below if it resonated, and I'll see you beautiful souls in the next video. Bye guys. So for Virgos, on the 1st of December 2024, we have the new moon in Sagittarius. That's going to be in your 4th house of home. So that's going to deal with new beginnings in your home life, but also it can be your emotional foundation. For some Virgos, it might be your family of origin, but keep in mind that the new moon doesn't mean it's day one of a brand new start. Usually it's the moment before the new start, the moment where that area of life is the quietest. And so because it's the quietest, nothing might be happening in that area on that day. So expect that topics of home, emotional foundation, privacy, how you feel. The 4th house is like our roots that go deep into our soul. It's what makes us feel at home. And that's different for everyone. But it's like, do you feel at home at your own skin, in your own skin? How do you feel when you're by yourself? And are you doing practices to connect more to your ancestry or to your family of origin or to emotional foundations or psychological things? The 4th house, people with strong 4th house stuff care a lot about how they feel, care a lot about living a life that is aligned, and they care a lot about how other people feel and whether other people's lives are aligned. So if you're having this new moon, you are having the new moon in the 4th house. It can be you connecting with the next cycle of kind of what you want to experience related to your feelings or how you want to proceed moving forward in your life related to the topics of emotional foundation, well-being, and alignment. So then it's a really, really good time if you want to use the new moon to plant seeds related to your emotions. How do you want to feel? So then on the 6th, we have Mars goes retrograde in Leo. So that's going to be your 12th house. And Mars rules the 3rd and the 8th house. Yeah, I don't love this one, guys, because I just don't. Mars in the 12th, it might make you aware of areas where you have repressed anger. Mars in the 12th can bring activity to your private spiritual life, your psychology, your things like hypnotherapy or how your subconscious mind deals with things. So like you could just be putting awareness on the subconscious mind, psychological things or private spiritual things like spirit guides, or especially connecting to like other spheres or other realms or gods or goddesses, so to speak, angels, whatever you believe in, that's like not of this world, because the 12th house is things that are hard to see. So it could be your anger. It could be you realize you're mad about something and you didn't know you were mad about it. But it could also be that like you've been praying for things and that topic comes up on the 6th. But that topic that comes up on the 6th is almost like it's coming up in a way of what needs to change in this area or what needs to be like like, what are you stepping back from and like turning around and going the other direction with? And so that might be actually also going over whatever you were doing in November when Mars entered Leo and started to get slower and slower. So it's like, was there a push towards some 12th house activity like prayer, like meditation, like hypnotherapy? And then now you're going to go let's back the truck up. Let's go in the other direction with it. Let's go back over what we've already done and see what did work and what didn't work. There might be something you're reassessing or readdressing or like changing your approach with when it comes to your spiritual life. Okay, there's other things that could be going on, but that's kind of the gist of it. Going on to the 7th, you have Venus entering Aquarius in your 6th house. The 6th house is like stuff you have to do, you don't usually want to do. But with Venus here, it's like bringing joy to your day-to-day work or bringing enjoyment or something lovely into your chores, your work. Maybe you're working in an environment that is more Venusian, that's like beautiful or like a rock star or like has this sort of energy of like enjoying the difference in people, right? Because Venus in Aquarius loves humanity, but it doesn't always love the person next to them as easily, right? They need more distance in relationships. So they're going to love people in a detached way. But for you, this is just going through your 6th house. So it's like, are you loving people in a detached way in your work? Or are you finding that you can enjoy your work from afar? Are you working remotely and enjoying it? And Venus rules your 9th and your 2nd. So are you making money online to more people by building an audience? Are your finances somehow being invested in groups? Are you investing money into joining your own groups that make you feel connected to the whole world, even though you're maybe different than the people around you in some way? Something like that going on, maybe around the 7th. And either way, if we're zooming out here for everyone, Venus going through the 6th usually is going to make it more enjoyable to your day-to-day life, how you spend your time. You might be eating more sweets. Something can sweeten up your schedule or your problems, or like just something maybe making life a little bit better. Maybe you're working with someone really hot or, something else where it just like sweetens up your day-to-day life in some way. Okay. It could be other things though. Maybe you have your favorite music on while you're working. It can be anything like that. Now, on the 15th, the full moon in Gemini will be in your 10th house. So this makes your 10th house of your role in life and your career full, right? So that might be that you have a lot going on. You have a lot of work to do. It's in Gemini. It's your 10th house. Jupiter has been here, making it be more, even though more focus on work and growth. There's also like making you be more like, ooh, shiny. I have 5 million different jobs. So it's possible that some Virgos, maybe if you're working a couple jobs, you just have a lot of work to be done. And that full 10th house is really just a lot of activity happening when it comes to your public image. But it could also be there's other activity happening related to your public image that isn't work related. It could be you find out some people are talking crap about you and you hear the rumors. And so there's more activity around your public image. Maybe it's someone, tells you someone said something about you and you need to address it and deal with it. So it could be public image outside of work, but for most Virgos, it's probably going to be busy. It's probably just going to be busy at work. Work, professional life is going to be taking up a lot of your time or energy, or it's going to be in focus or just have a lot going on. It doesn't really say good or bad. It's just activity here. On the same day, the 15th, Mercury goes direct in Sagittarius. That's your 4th house. So what problems were you having related to your home or your emotional foundations around the end of November that you have been kind of going back over or needing to readdress? What challenges were happening or maybe activity happening related to your family of origin? It does feel like every Mercury retrograde and direct will be significant for you because you're a Virgo rising or sun or moon. But it does feel like Mercury direct in Sagittarius in the 4th house is like, how are you identifying as your role in work and how is your work-life balance going? Do you need to do more is there some new plan that changes the work-life balance? Is there some new plan where you're working more from home or you're doing a second job, or there's something else that changes, or you got rid of a second job where there's more time at home now and there's more time to focus on how you feel? Or maybe you feel like there wasn't enough time and now it could go either way. Maybe before you had more time on your hands and now you're working a couple jobs and you have more to do and there's less time at home. So it does feel like, though, work-life balance and maybe a plan going forward that is designed for you to create or have the things you want related to your home, related to your work, related to your life. Okay, on the 21st, the sun enters Capricorn. This is your 5th house of pleasure. Okay, so the sun in the pleasure house is not so bad because it's like putting a spotlight on things you enjoy. Okay, so it could be putting a spotlight on your dating life. It could be putting a spotlight on your creativity and what you are wanting to accomplish related to how you express yourself. It could be putting a spotlight on whether you are heard in your relationships and whether you are seen. It could be putting a spotlight on the creative things you want to do, you want to manifest, you want to accomplish. So, but because the sun for you rules the 12th house, this could be putting a spotlight on how you avoid the limelight, if that's a thing, especially if that's a thing. So if you are a Virgo who has trouble being front and center, or who, when you get a lot of attention, you flip out like me. Or if you have a complex, right? Because the sun ruling the 12th house suggests that it's possible Virgo risings will have some subconscious fears related to being seen. And the 5th house is a house of being seen, but it's Capricorn. So what are you seen for? Your hard work and accomplishments. Some Virgos might be being noticed for their hard work and accomplishments at this time, but it could go the other way where it's like something is bringing a focus to what you want to accomplish in your creativity, and you just straight up want to think about that. But there could also be the second layer going on of, how have I sabotaged my own creativity in the past, and how can I not do that going forward? That might be like the underlying layer of what's going on underneath of that. On December 30th, we have the new moon in Capricorn. That's also going to be in your 5th house. So lots of energy at this time on what are you birthing into being? And maybe around the 30th of December, this is a time of quietude. Now, it might not be. You might be working really, really hard on a project. But other Virgos, it might be that like your creativity is kind of put on the back burner, or not. You're not really able to fully throw yourself into this area, maybe because you're too busy working, maybe because there's things that have to be done. There's responsibilities going on here. But it does feel like something around the end of December here on the 30th, with the new moon in your 5th house of passion, creativity, dating, either that area of life quiets down and now it's ready for a new beginning, or you're planting seeds and thinking about what you want during this next stage of life. So I like this for dating, for Virgos who want to like date and have more fun and have more enjoyment. That might be part of the focus toward the end of the month. And, overall, it's really, I do think December for Virgos is going to be focusing on how you're showing up in your job, in your work, and whether it's working for you and what you need to do or change to make it a little bit more aligned to what you're trying to get out of life or what you're trying to accomplish. So that is what I have for Virgos, and we're going to move on to our next sign, which is going to be Libra. Okay, for Libras, the new moon in December on the 1st is going to be in your 3rd house. That's going to be your local environment, your commute, your neighbors, your neighborhood. So it's normal during the new moon. Remember, it's a quiet time before things begin. It's not exactly the new beginning. So you might find that your neighborhood is in focus. You might find that your commute, or like how you get from place to place, or your transportation, is something that you're ready to make some new beginnings on. But the 3rd house can also be writing. So especially for Libras who want to write, who want to publish something, who want to write anything at all, then that 3rd house can also be you getting quiet and thinking about the new things you want to write, or getting some ideas around how you want to change, even if you write emails or something, how you want to change that process that you do in your life. And it can also be for those who don't write, that writing isn't part of your life. This can also be new beginnings in communication and how you think. And, that third house of like talking to people, communicating with others, that kind of thing. So this could go a bunch of different ways, but I do think because we have the new moon in the 3rd, and then later in the month, we'll have the full moon in the 9th. The 3rd and 9th house axis is about, the 3rd house, it's like our day-to-day physical reality versus the 9th house being more spiritual, but also there's another layer here where it's about communicating what we know. So there's a new beginning of communication, but also later on in the month, maybe there's a culmination or a finishing of a class, or you're learning something and what is like filled up, so you've like accomplished a certification, or you've learned something new. Okay, all right. Going on to the 6th, where Mars goes retrograde in Leo in your 11th house, Mars ruling your 2nd and 7th house. Maybe there's a reassessing of some kind of social obligation or some kind of social thing, right? Because the 11th house is usually social. It's usually our friends, our partner's friends, things we have to do. In November, Mars entered Leo. So maybe when that happened, there could just be more activity around like things you have to do, your social life or your audience. Sometimes like you'll get a little more pushback from those areas of life or those people. But it doesn't necessarily mean that, right? It could be just more focus, or you're more busy, or there's more attention or more need to put energy into this area of life. Maybe some Libras, especially if you have like a social media audience, you could be figuring out how to make content or like putting more energy into that. If you have a social circle that you hang out with all the time, or you have like groups you normally join, maybe you're going to more stuff and you're doing more social obligations. But around the 6th, we have a change in pace around that 11th house. So whatever was happening before might be slowing down, might be stopping, and might be changing directions, whatever that is. So maybe you are going to stop going to one group that you used to go to. Maybe you're going to go to a different group that's in a different location. Something else. Maybe you're leaving an online community and entering another one. It could be a million other things, but it's changing, stopping, or going in a different direction related to social obligations or social networks. All right, going on to the 7th, we have Venus entering Aquarius. That is your 5th house. Your 5th house of things you're creating, things you want to do, fun, pleasure. So Venus and Aquarius can make your process of creating more enjoyable, can just bring more joy to bring more pleasure to your pleasure, bring more pleasure into your life when Venus goes into the 5th house. It's like whatever you normally enjoy, there is potential for it to be more fun, or you're focusing more on things that are enjoyable to you because you are Venus, right? Venus rules you. So it can also be just, from the 7th on, there's just more things you want to do that are fun, whatever fun is to you. Okay, on the 15th, we have the full moon in Gemini in the 9th house. That's going to be your, like the full moon in the 9th house. This is the culmination of what you know, what you've learned, what you are thinking about, what's meaningful to you. And so it can be like a completion of some spiritual course, right? Or it can be like a completion of like some kind of reading some kind of philosophical book that you loved, or you're really putting a lot of thought and time and energy into some kind of study. And maybe it's the test is happening now or something, So it can be any kind of culmination with your 9th house. And you have to kind of think about what parts of the 9th house are in your life right now. Are you traveling? Are you learning another language? Or do you work with the law? Are you publishing something? So if it's yes to any of those things, then it's that thing probably is the most like highlighted or like big or important or significant at this time. Okay, so on the same day, Mercury goes direct in Sagittarius in your third house, which really makes me feel like for Libras, there is something about this time that is about you communicating what you know. Maybe some of you are publishing a book. Maybe some of you are being like talking about something you just learned and just having conversations about it. Maybe you are just really busy chit-chatting and thinking about something really fun to think about and like learning more about it and grabbing more books on it. And just like it brings, because Mercury in the third brings a activity, right? It brings activity to your third house of the mind and your thoughts and your things you're talking about. So again, this goes back to the whole, are you communicating what you know? And maybe there has been some focus since the end of November on how can I communicate what I know? Or what's stopping me from communicating what I know? Or what do I need to change or fix? What's the problem here? Like, where's the bottleneck? And maybe there's something along the lines of that. Also, there could also be something here on the 15th of December that relates to how you bring your spiritual beliefs or your knowledge that you have into your everyday life. Because that third house is also like partially, it's our day-to-day activities. So going on to the 21st, when the sun enters Capricorn, that's your fourth house. The sun there is going to illuminate how you feel about things. It might illuminate topics relating to home. Maybe some of you are having a dinner party or you're hosting for the holidays, or there could also be just friends coming over to your house and feeling like there's a lot of focus on home, making home be what you want it to be, thinking of home as like a goal to accomplish, or thinking of how you want to accomplish your goals related to your house. And again, some of you, it might just be like cleaning the house so you can like have people over, those kind of goals. But it could also be bigger goals like buying a house or selling a house or whatever goals you have in your life right now related to the topic of home and family and security and stability, right? Even though it's the fourth house, not the second, there's still a very foundational element of our fourth house because it's like what makes us feel okay. So some of you, some of those goals that you're thinking about might not be goals that are like, I want to reach the top. They might be like, I just want to feel better about X, Y, or Z in my life. Okay, and especially when it comes to friendships or social circles. So then on December 30th, we have that new moon in Capricorn that is in your fourth house. So again, more new beginnings related to home. Now, this might be a time where the house is quiet, right? Because there was activity and it's died down. But it could also be you thinking about what you want to accomplish, but how it's related to, again, that fourth house of home, how you want to feel and how you feel in your own skin. And like, does your life support you on a foundational level? Does your life nurture you? Does your life have those securities and stabilities you want it to have? Those will all be things you might be considering toward the end of the month. Overall, for Libra, lots of focus this month on, again, communicating what you know and the crossroads or the, opposition here between our life in our spiritual world and our emotional, mental beliefs versus the embodiment of habits and, getting stuff done. So there's a balance of both here. And yeah, that's what I have for Libras for December. I hope you enjoy. Let me know in a comment if it resonates, and I'll see you in the next video. Okay, for Scorpio, the new moon in December 2024 on the first day of December is going to be in your second house of money. So keep in mind, this is not usually the moment that you are rolling in the dough. Usually the new moon in that house is the moment before the action happens. So for some Scorpio, maybe it's like a quiet time financially before you step up to something new. And for some others, it'll be regular time financially but this might be a time where you're planting seeds for what you want to do next in your money, with your possessions. Maybe you want to go buy a bunch of stuff, and right now you're just thinking about what you want to buy. So it's like new beginnings of a time where you're going to be more focused on finances. Then on the 6th, Mars goes retrograde in Leo in your 10th house. So think about what's been happening since November till now related to your work. How have things gotten busier in your public image, your work, how especially the public side of what you do, what your role is and what you're known as. This is where we're going to see the action. Now, what action might happen here is a slowing down and turning of a new direction related to your work, especially the tasks you're doing on a day-to-day basis, because Mars rules your 6th house. And the 6th house is like work. It's your work schedule. It's like, sometimes it's the work you do that you don't get credit for, the work behind the scenes that people don't see. So it's possible for some Scorpios that around the 6th, when Mars retrogrades in Leo, we see a foreshadowing or something happening related to your 6th house of like, what was I going to say? I just lost it. Where what you've been working on up until now becomes more public. Where what you have been preparing behind the scenes, or what you have been investing your time, energy, or skills into, at this point becomes more of a thing that is like, people are seeing it now. So that might be intentional, where you're publishing something, or because Mars goes retrograde, maybe there's some focus on the work you do becoming more visible, but also needing to go back. It's almost like you send the rough draft to the editor, and then they send it back to you, and they're like, oh, you got to fix all this stuff, or something else like that, with that sort of energy around it related to your, what you've been working on, what acts you've been sharpening related to your skill set, and what it would look like for that to be visible for you, depending on what's happening in your life. But don't be alarmed if your work becoming more public ends up being something that has to go back and be redone. That's kind of right on schedule for a retrograde. So moving on to the 7th, when Venus enters Aquarius, this is your 4th house of home. So this could be a time where you're enjoying yourself at home more. You're enjoying your privacy. You are, which I know you guys do, you're Scorpios, but it can be like a female relative or a female friend comes over to your house, or you have women in your home when you normally don't, or you have Venus rules your 7th house of love. So you could have a partner. I mean, for some, this could be a bigger life thing where a partner's moving in with you, but a lot of you, it's just your significant other and you are spending more time at home. And whether it's man or woman, or anything else, that it's like just bringing topics of other people into the, sometimes maybe the bedroom, maybe, but maybe not. Maybe it's just bringing people over to your house and having a dinner party, or having enjoyment. Okay. But that enjoyment could also be you just being by yourself, enjoying it too. So from the 7th forward, all month, Venus will be in that 4th house, bringing more potential to enjoy your home. Maybe you just got a new diffuser and you're diffusing essential oils and you love the way it smells and you're just enjoying that at your house, right? So it can be something really day to day happening here. Then on the 15th, we have the full moon in Gemini. That's going to be in your 8th house of intimacy, sex, death, and other people's money. And so that's going to show up more like a focus or a fullness around intimacy. So for some Scorpios, this can be all relationship oriented. But remember, intimacy doesn't have to be just with lovers, right? It can be with your best friends. It can be with your family members, where you get to know people more deeply and have these deeper conversations and let yourself be known. Now, it could also be with the 8th house. This could be money stuff too, because that new moon on the 1st in that 2nd house of money, like new beginnings and finances. But it might be a time where your own like the second house is also your own money versus the eighth house is other people's. So having this fullness of other people's money, is it possible it could be, Scorpios, like someone helping you out, someone giving you money, someone giving you a loan? It's possible. But it's also possible that it could be a time in life where priorities and focus is shifting from just me being by myself doing it alone to how are we going to do it together? And it might be you're the one supporting the other person. It might be they're the one supporting you. It might be more of a merging of finances. Maybe, even with Venus entering the home, maybe this is you maybe renting a room, or renting out a room in your house, or doing something else where you're combining the topic of home with other people and giving it more friendliness. It doesn't mean like more of a relational quality. Okay. So it could be that. It could be something else. Now, that fullness on the 15th in your 8th house of other people's money could also be related to investments, stocks, could be related to any kind of way your money can be merged with other people's, or it can be invested and combined with other people's, if that makes sense. So then, also on the 15th, Mercury goes direct in Sagittarius in your second house. So for Scorpios, it's a lot of money focus this month. And with Mercury having been retrograde from, even in end of November till now, it's like, what have you been going over related to your spending or other people's spending? Or is someone else spending your money, Scorpio? Or are you spending too much on something? Or is what's going on here financially? I feel like maybe there's been a need to go back and reassess, where is your money going? How much are you spending on this? Maybe you're trying to figure out how to pay off debt. I mean, some of you, it could be that because Mercury rules your 8th house of debt. But some of you, it's maybe you're cashing out of a 401k. Maybe you're pulling money out of something and putting it in your bank account. And it's like, okay, there's my retirement. Something like that could be happening too. But it does feel like you've been thinking about this since the end of November. Just thinking about what your plan is going to be going forward. And maybe by the 15th, you have a clear plan of action of how to kind of proceed financially in a different way, or to solve the problems that were happening before, just addressing or having some clarity and some resolution around that. So then on the 21st, the sun enters Capricorn. That's your third house. Your third house is your commute, your neighbors, your neighborhood, your car, your vehicles. And for you, the sun rules the 10th house. So some of you, maybe it's working from home or having a new commute, or a certain focus on your work, that maybe your work makes you travel across town, or maybe you're going and running around running errands so you can do more work, or maybe you're running errands and you keep running into people and everyone sees you and says hello, or something like that. Now, the sun is going to enter Capricorn every year. So around this time of year, you're always going to have the sun in your third house, but it's going to illuminate. So it's always going to illuminate for all of us, what are our long-term goals? Are we reaching them? Are we reaching our highest potential? But for Scorpios, it's, what's your role in life, and how is your public image contributing to your environment? How is your public image contribute? How does the work you do give you the car you want to drive? How does the work you do what does it have to do? Your role in life, your public persona have to do with your neighborhood. And maybe there's something going on there. And each year it'll be something different. Now on to the 30th of December. This is the last thing we'll go over for this month, for this report. And that is the new moon in Capricorn in your third house. So again, on the 21st, bringing awareness to your third house, how you communicate what you know, who you're talking to, maybe even siblings are an issue, not an issue, but a thing you're focused on. So maybe a sister or brother comes to visit you for the holiday or something. For those who celebrate the holiday, for those who are in this hemisphere, but maybe it's just spotlight on siblings. Maybe you're thinking about what your brother does for his work. It could be anything. And then on the 30th, that new moon in the third house is a new beginning in your commute, your neighborhood, if you write or you speak. If you don't write or speak, ignore that. If you, and like kind of your day-to-day life, right? So how much time do you spend? What grocery store do you go to? What, place do you stop on the way home? All these things. One of these things has the potential to be changing. And on the 30th is not the moment where it changes. On the 30th, this is a moment where it comes into view, or there's a quietness on this area. Maybe it's just quiet in your neighborhood on this day, and everything's quiet and everyone's gone and the neighbors are on vacation, or maybe a new neighbor is moving in, right? So it can be any kind of new beginning related to that third house of your neighborhood, the car you drive, your vehicles, how you commute back and forth to your work, or what your commute is, any of those things. But it does kind of suggest that toward the end of the month here for Scorpios, we're going to see focus on the more material side of life and getting stuff done, accomplishing things, taking care of things, sending things, mailing things, going to stores, those kind of things. Just day-to-day errands are going to take up the spotlight from the 21st on. So for Scorpios, this does feel like a month where we're focusing on finances, we're focusing on our reputation, we're focusing on our public image, and how all these things need to fit together to move forward in our lives, and debt or retirement, things like that. So that's what I have for Scorpios. We're going to move on to the next sign, which is our Sagittariuses. Okay, so for Sagittarius for December, there is a new moon in Sagittarius on the 1st in your first house of you. So this is going to be a new moon related to you, what you want to do with your life, what dreams are you chasing? When we think of Sagittarius, it's like, what is that? Your arrow, you've got the bow and arrow. What's your arrow pointing toward? So on the 1st of December, we're going to see you kind of contemplating this. This isn't usually the moment where you're stepping out to reach the goal. It's like the moment where you've got the arrow pulled back and you're aiming and you're deciding what the target's going to be. So, that's the 1st. Lots of sort of potential for new beginnings. Lots of maybe considering just what your next steps are going to be, right? Because first house transits are usually you taking steps forward in your life. What job do you want? Who do you want to be with? Who's your relationship with? The major big pillars of life, where you want to live. You might be considering things like this. Then on to the 6th, where we have Mars retrograding in Leo in your 9th house. This is going to be, we had Mars enter your 9th house back in early November. So what has been speeding up related to something you're learning, or related to astrology, or related to a foreign language, or foreigners, or travel, or publishing, or the law? I'm going to tell you all the 9th house stuff, and you got to figure out which one relates to your life more, because it's usually just one. And it's different for everyone, right? If you're a lawyer, that's you. If you're not, it's not that. So, okay. So Mars retrograde in Leo on the 6th will be maybe a change of direction, or a slowing down or reorienting toward whatever was starting in November in your 9th house. What were you starting to learn? What language were you starting to speak? Or what plan were you starting to make for travel, or whatever else? So think of what that was that got more activity and got more sped up in November. Now, on the 6th, that changes direction. So it might be that if you were taking classes, that class that you were taking maybe doesn't meet that day, or something else where it's like it's slowing down. It's time to go back over 9th house things that you've been doing for a long time, maybe. It doesn't have to only be since November, but things that maybe had more focus or pressure or sped up energy around them, things that were moving faster related to that at that time. So Mars also rules your 5th house and your 12th house. So this could be really spiritual stuff, like prayers or petitions, or like angels, spirit guides, spiritual modalities that are designed to help you connect with the heavens, in whatever way, like reaching toward the sky, reaching toward heaven, reaching toward the divine. How have you been doing that in the last month or so? And then How is it going to stop, pause, halt, or change, or turn to a new direction? Doesn't mean you're going to stop doing it. I mean, maybe some, but for the most part, this gives more of a feeling of like, oh, now we're going this way. Okay. We were going that way, but now we're going this way. And it does feel very spiritual. Mars also rules the 5th house. So for Sagittarius who are maybe into like Tantra or something, it might have something to do with that, right? Because the 5th house is pleasure. So pleasure's going into the 9th house is like pleasure turning into more of a spiritual practice, or enjoying a spiritual practice that is not in a sexual way, right? Like, so it could go either way, but what do you enjoy that's been like it's like enjoying an offering to God, enjoying an offering to the gods. Just think about how that relates for you, and pay attention to what happens on the 6th, because that's going to be, we're going to see more on that, right? It's the retrograde. Mars will go direct later. So it's going to be important. On the 7th, Venus enters Aquarius. That is your 3rd house. The 3rd house of your car, your local environment, driving. Maybe on the 7th, you do a day trip with a lover. Maybe on the 7th, you get some essential oils in your car and you love the way they smell. Maybe there's something else that's causing you to enjoy your commute. Maybe you find the best podcast to listen to on your way to work. It could be anything like that, but it really does bring more enjoyment to the places you're going day to day trips, your neighbors, your neighborhood, things like that. It doesn't necessarily mean movement, but it does feel like the potential to enjoy where you are, to enjoy your surroundings. Maybe your neighbor or roommate like brings you a cake or something, something nice, a nice gift or something. On the 15th, the full moon in Gemini is in your 7th house, bringing a fullness and a focus on others. This doesn't always mean relationships. If you're in a relationship already, it doesn't mean it's going to end either. But if you're in a relationship, it's probably you focusing on that. It probably is just that. If you're not in a relationship, it can be you spending time with close friends. Whoever are the important other people in your life right now, it's them, and them like taking center stage. If you have one-on-one clients, you could be really full with one-on-one clients at this time and just be really fully booked around this time and be spending a lot of time talking to people one-on-one or doing one-on-one things. Okay. And if you're single, that's still the same. It's other people. And then also on the 15th, Mercury goes direct in Sagittarius in your 1st house, which might bring some clarity right now around, what you want to do next in your relationships or in your work, right? Because Mercury rules your 7th and 10th houses, your relationships and your role in life. So you might be clear. Maybe you realized there was a challenge related to how you connect with other people or related to your work back toward the end of December. And maybe now that you figured out what the problem is, you have the awareness on what the challenge is, there's an ability to move forward more clearly and directly when it comes to you and your life and your life direction. This month is all about Sagittarius clarifying their life direction and kind of like marching forward. And it's going to also be about the push and pull between you and others and what you want versus what others want and finding that balance. Now on the 21st, the sun enters Capricorn. That's your 2nd house of money. There might be some focus here on finances. And because the sun rules the 9th house, you might be making money from a course, or you could possibly make money from some other 9th house activity, or you're thinking about how you can make money traveling or making money while you're on vacation or making money off of, I don't know, like speaking another language or whatever you do that's relates to the 9th house. It has to be something you do though. But that's a possibility. Other possibilities here would be just focusing on finances and really seeing the meaning and the deeper reason why you want to do that. It could also be, it's like the 9th ruler and the 2nd's interesting because the 9th house is like the house of God, right? And then the 2nd house is like very material. So how is that going to work? Well, you pray for something and you get what you ask for, or maybe you buy a little Buddha statue, right? Like how can God become physical and real? Maybe you purchase a thing that's like, maybe you buy a little altar where you can put your little things, or, there's some kind of investment into the ninth house. But it could go the other way where it's like, maybe you have learned something, and this feels more right on for most of you. Maybe you've learned something and you're figuring out how to put what you know into something that's marketable. Maybe you're figuring out how to sell your wisdom or your knowledge in a certain way. Okay, so then on to the 30th, where we have the new moon in Capricorn in that second house as well. So again, we have this focus on money, focus on, okay, now that I figured out what I figured out on the 15th about where I'm heading and what my plan is, and now that I have this focus from the 21st on of like, what do I have? What do I own? What are my values? How is the way I'm living, especially financially, matching up with what I believe spiritually? What's working there? What's working in my finances? And now on the 30th, and how can I create more of what's working? Or how can I create and manifest, what I want? Now, another thing that can happen on the 30th though, is because this is a new moon, new moons are not the time where you just get the big, influx of cash. Usually, and I'm not saying your bank account's going to be empty, but you got to watch out because your bank account might go empty. It doesn't mean like someone's going to steal or something, but the new moon is when the thing is quiet and it's like, it's black. There's nothing going on here. It's black. Like there's no light, right? It's the dark moon. Not black, dark. Okay, so what's happening on the 30th for Sagittarius? Maybe you're like, I ran out of money. Maybe. But maybe it's more like you go and you sell a bunch of stuff. Maybe you are emptying your possessions, right? Because the second house is also the stuff that you have. Anything you've got, you get rid of it, or you don't want it anymore. Or you're cleaning it out, or you're releasing it. Maybe you're releasing, but the new moon, I know the new moon isn't for releasing, but hear me out, because people think the new moon is the new beginning and the full moon is the ending. It's not like that. The new moon is when you plant the seed. The full moon is when the thing you planted is at its ripest. Okay. So if we're thinking of the planting the seed, in order to plant the seed, the soil has to be tilled and it has to be empty. There has to be space. Okay, so sometimes the new moon is the time of empty space in that area. So you have empty space in your second house, which means you got rid of some stuff, or you moved into a new house and now you don't have enough furniture and you see how empty it is, or something else along those lines that involves your stuff and emptiness. Maybe you are becoming a monk and you're going to get rid of all your things and you're going to travel around the world. Some of you Sagittarius, I would believe that. Okay. But the point is, on the 30th, we just see this open space, this blank page in your finances, in your money, in your possessions, and you get to write the story of what you want to see next. So that's how I see the month ending for you. So overall, Sagittarius, we've got I think this will be a really potent month for you of like potential new beginnings, potential changes. If you want to see changes with relationship stuff, of like, really kind of focusing in on where you want your life to go. And then some potential good stuff too, in like your day-to-day activities, right? So it's like the topics that are highlighted here are you and your life and where it's going. And then the other people with you. And then, how like the spiritual stuff and the day-to-day stuff and the money are all combining. So that's what I see for Sagittarius. Let me know if this made sense. I always love hearing from you. We're going to go on to our next sign, which is Capricorn. Okay, so for Capricorns, the new moon in Sagittarius on the 1st of September is happening in your 12th house of isolation. So this might be a time where you're just getting quiet. You're just spending some time to yourself. Maybe you're recovering from something, but maybe you're not. Maybe you just are alone, or you're meditating, or you're getting spiritual, or you're doing some things in quiet, or you're working behind the scenes a little bit. As far as the new moon as the new beginning for planting seeds, it's planting seeds with that subconscious mind, your spiritual life, your isolation, and maybe realizing, especially if you are having some quiet time, realizing how important that might be going forward. On the 6th, Mars goes retrograde in your 8th house of other people's money and sharing, right? So it's like, think about what's been happening for you from like early November till now, related to other people's money, sharing resources. Are you supporting someone else? Are they supporting you? Have you been having to borrow money? Do you have a bunch of debt? Are you investing? You know, what 8th house topic is related to your life from the financial side? And that might be stopping, turning around, and just, you know, focusing on going a different direction with that stuff. Now, if the financial stuff doesn't resonate, this might also just be intimacy. Mars in the 8th really can be a time where you want to have more intimacy. Your intimacy can speed up, but it's like on the 6th, we're like, wait a minute, hold on. We need to look at this in a different way. And what that's going to be for you, Capricorn, is going to depend on how that Mars has been showing up so far. Has it been getting closer to someone? Has it been a love interest? Has it been getting closer to people in a totally different way where you're in a group setting and you're like gaining intimacy through shared struggles, shared crisis or something? That can be happening with Mars in the 8th, like a shared, maybe not a crisis that's happening now, but like when people meet for like support groups for like psychological stuff, that's the kind of thing I'm thinking of. Okay. So, and it could also be other people coming to you with their crises. And maybe on the 6th, one of those people or that main person is like, oh, I have to, they become that becomes less significant and they don't need you as much for the moment. Or you change, maybe you consciously change the direction of that. And instead of answering their phone call every day, you're like, how about once a week or something along those lines, right? So it could be you needing to set boundaries or even cut off someone who's relying on you too much for psychological support. Okay, so on the 7th, Venus enters Aquarius. That's your 2nd house of money. So this is a nice one for money. Usually it doesn't mean like you'll win the lottery, because think about it. Venus does this every year. So just being in that house isn't necessarily enough by itself to bring a huge boon, or bounty or something, you know, but it's like Venus in Aquarius in the 2nd might just bring you a little bonus, or it might bring you either money or enjoying your things a little bit more. You buy something you love and you're just like, yes, I have this thing. I love it. Or maybe you are spending your money on doing things that are fun because Venus rules your 5th house. Maybe you have a business and it just made a little bit of cash or something like that. Maybe you're working overtime and you just get paid. So it could be anything, but Venus in the 2nd could also be you enjoying making money, you doing something at your job or at your work that is like you like doing it, or using your voice or doing something Venusian to make money, you know, like selling guided meditations or selling perfume or something. It could be a bunch of other stuff. On the 15th, the full moon in Gemini is going to be in your 6th house. So when you have a full moon in the 6th house, this does kind of feel a lot like you're busy. You're really, really busy. I mean, that's really what it feels like. It feels like you have stuff to do. And the kind of stuff you have to do when the full moon's in your 6th house is like chores, cleaning the sheets because people are coming over, or, you know, doing things that are not directly like, oh, I'm going to make more money if I do this, but like things that are helping others, things that are like things you just have to do, like cleaning out your gutters or cleaning out your, dresser drawer or something, you know, something like that, where it's like, it just needs to get done. Yeah. So around the 15th, I can see you just being busy, getting a lot of stuff done. And maybe for some, the stuff you're getting done is stuff that is like prepping you for something later. Cause sometimes the 6th house is like us perfecting a skill, us putting the time in to perfect a skill or perfect a skill, you know, to get good at something. That the concept of us improving ourselves and getting better and like increasing our habits and things like that. So it could be that. It could be habit change. It could be on the 15th of December, Capricorns are like going on a diet or something. I don't know. But then also on the 15th, Mercury is direct in Sagittarius, which is your 12th house, and that's more private. So this could be you working from home more, or you, let me think, 6th ruler in the 12th, direct. More aware of, because with Mercury, it went retrograde last month, end of November. So like, what have you been realizing related to how you spend your time? How you spend your time, how meaningful your life is, how connected you are to spirit, or how much you feel like you're living based on your beliefs. And around the 15th, maybe you realize that in order to that like you need more quiet time. Maybe you create a meditation schedule, or you do something else that allows you to bring that 12th house of isolation and solitude and contemplation into your daily life more. Or maybe, some of you are just creating a new plan when it comes to spiritual things or psychological things. Maybe some of you are planning your therapy appointments, and it's just that. It could be something that basic. And then on the 21st, the sun enters Capricorn. That's your first house of you and your life direction. So you're going to be thinking about what you're doing. Like, you're going to be thinking about your future. You're going to be thinking about what mountain you want to climb, but it's also probably going to illuminate your personality. Maybe you'll need to be in front of people a little bit more. Maybe you'll be meeting and greeting a little bit more starting the 21st. The sun also rules your 8th house. So it could be that shared resources become a part of your identity, or that you are focusing on your own self, your own character related to who you're sharing with or what you owe. Maybe what you owe is starting to weigh heavily on you if you do owe something, or how much you've given that hasn't gotten back if someone else owes you. And maybe you are, I don't want to say you're like identifying as that, but maybe you just paid off some debt and now you're like, yes, I'm a person who paid off all my debt. And you are sort of incorporating that into your identity. If there has been a change to other people's money, that would make sense. If there hasn't, then maybe it's more like the 8th house being the transformation and you feeling like, I am now this new version of myself who doesn't have these habits, who doesn't have this challenge anymore, or who doesn't relate to being that old version. And then on the 30th, the new moon in Capricorn in your first house, really good time to set new intentions. So we started off the month with that new moon in the first house of like quietude the 12th house, the first day of the month, with the new moon in your 12th house of isolation, and being like, okay, how are we going to move forward in our spiritual life and our psychological well-being? And now it's moving to, you've gone through this change, you've gone through whatever you've gone through by the end of the month, to say, okay, now that we've figured that out, how are we going to move forward at this level of our life in our own identity? Like, who are we now without whatever we've left behind in December? So that is what I will leave you with, Capricorn. And let me know in a comment if that resonated. I always love hearing from you. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye. All right, Aquarius, we are going to look at December 2024, starting with the first, which is the new moon in Sagittarius in your 11th house. This is a very fun house. So there might be some thoughts around what your what your next level toward your life direction is going to be, toward your goals and your dreams. But it can also be new beginnings related to your friend circles, community. This is all about community. Where are you connected? Who are you hooked into? What groups? And that can be community like your friends, but it can also be like the people you're networking with, acquaintances, right? It can be people you know who you are friends with, and it can be people you know who you would not consider friends, who you're dealing with for whatever reason. So that first day of September may not be the day when you are going to all the parties. It might be the day where you're planning what events you're going to do for the month or something along those lines, or the day you join a new community online that you later will join the real main event for or something. On the 6th, Mars goes retrograde in Leo. That's your 7th house. Think about what has sped up in your relationships since early November. I think it was the 4th that Mars entered Leo. And so now it's retrograding, which means that area of life is going to have like a pause or a standstill or a change in direction in some way. So sometimes when Mars goes into the 7th, if we are coupled, we're going to argue with our partner. There's going to be some bickering. So if you started bickering or arguing and you're coupled back early in November, then this will be a time where maybe something changes and you go back and talk about what you were arguing about, and you figure out you don't need to argue, or if there's something else that stops here, maybe you stop arguing with each other, or maybe, there's a going back and figuring out what you were even mad about or something along those lines. Now for you, if Aquariuses are not okay, first of all, it might not be arguing, right? Because Mars is also working out, lifting weights, blah, blah, blah. So maybe you started working out with your partner and now you guys aren't going to anymore. Or there was some kind of project or activity you were focused on reaching, or a goal you were focused on reaching together with any other person, partner, or otherwise, that now you are going back and going, let's reassess. Let's see what's going on here. Is this really what we want to do? Da, 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 da. If you are single, maybe you want a partner, maybe Mars since November has made you want a partner more. So you'll know if that's true or not. But it can also speed up just relational activities in general. So more people to talk to, more client work, more one-on-one conversations, more friends you're meeting up with, things like that. So if that's the case, then around the 6th, maybe that kind of pauses and goes in a different direction in some way. All right. Either way, it's relationship focus. And it's maybe even in the most extreme cases, maybe ending a connection. I'm not saying if you've been married 20 years, you should leave your partner. Please do not take this as advice. I'm saying it could be you're married and then you end up breaking up with a friend, right? So don't overemphasize that. But sometimes it'll be a need to. Mars will represent a need to cut something off or stop something. So that could be like you've been working with this client and you have to cut them off because there's something wrong. Or it could be that you have a friend that you're like, no, we're not going to go on this trip together, whatever, right? Any kind of way you just have to say no to someone. On the 7th, Venus enters Aquarius. That's your first house of you. So when Venus hits your first house, this is a time where you tend to look and feel your best that you will that year, because it's going to do that every year. It's not like in your whole life. It's just for that year, you got your hair done, or, you're wearing the clothes that look the best on you or something like that, right? So when Venus goes through your first, sometimes people will schedule their headshots when Venus is like on the ascendant, because the face you're putting onto the world is the most like good looking as it can be. But also Venus rules your 4th house of home and your 9th house of spirituality. So maybe you are talking about yourself or identifying as a spiritual person. Maybe you are having conversations, or maybe you are showing up and connecting with other people over spiritual topics, or maybe you are connecting with people. And just like sometimes when Venus goes through your first, it's just like when you're out and about and you're meeting people, right? Because that ascendant, that first house is like the first impression. Well, then maybe you are like meeting people and it's just like a lovely conversation. It really could be that. It really could be that you're having lovely conversations with people around the 7th. Now, also on the 15th, we have the full moon in Gemini. That's in your 5th house of fun. So a full moon in the fun house, Aquarius. I like this. This could mean your love life, your dating life, your enjoyment and your pleasure in general is filled up and taking a lot of your attention. So that's why I like this for you. It's the fun house is like filled up. So you're gambling or you're dating and flirting or going further than that. Or if you have kids, you're spending a lot of time with them and nurturing them and putting your energy into them. And maybe something in their life is filled up and like coming to a completion or a culmination. If you have been enjoying something, if there's just something throughout December that you're just really enjoying doing, maybe on the 15th, there's a big event or a large amount of time spent on that thing. So maybe you're enjoying playing games and on the 5th, there's some kind of game tournament that you've been playing or something. It can be anything you enjoy that is just taking up a lot of your time, taking up a lot of space in life on the 15th. So, that's a good one to enjoy. I think it's possible you could feel a little bit like you have too many fun things to do that day and you can't be in all places at once, but I think that's a relatively good problem to have. So also on the 15th, Mercury goes direct in Sagittarius. That's your 11th house. That's that house we talked about in the beginning of the other people and the fun and the hopes and dreams and the, not just fun, but like, it's very aspirational and social. So what are you feeling clear on now moving forward? Is it your social schedule? Is it something more political that has to do with the public or something related to your work that has to do with the group of people if it's a bigger workplace? Is it you're ready, you have a plan to go forward for like your next hope and dream that you realized there was some issues with last November, like the end of November? Is it some kind of fun thing that you're ready? Is it something creative you're ready to put out to the world? Because sometimes when we see the 5th house and 11th house activated, it's like you're painting a painting and then you publish it or you sell it at a farmer's market or, it's like the act of creation. And then the 11th house is the act of like giving it to the public and letting the people have it. So that might be, consider how much creativity has to do with your life and your work to think about how that relates. If you're creating something that you would put out to the world, it would be that. If you're not in that boat right now, this is more just a social plan or a schedule for like the events you're going to be going to, or if you just took a position as a volunteer for a group thing, well, then now this might be when you're ready you start it, or again, it's like the schedule comes out or something. Okay. So on the 21st, the sun enters Capricorn. That's your 12th house of isolation, solitude, spiritual life. It can be self-sabotage, but when the sun comes into this house, you're likely to see the things that you don't normally see. So one way that can show up is you're doing things in private. And what kind of things would be relationship things? So, this is like secret lover energy, but it doesn't necessarily have to mean that. It could be like you and your partner are just getting some time alone. And you do stuff in private and you like enjoy it. It could be like you and your partner are like talking about spiritual stuff or talking about how you're going to reach your goals, but there's some privacy related to it. It could be you realizing that you have this fear coming up in your relationship or your relationships in general, and it's a fear of being seen. And you're like, okay, I have this fear of being seen. Now I see this. Because the sun rules the 7th, this could also be somebody else in your life guiding you to more clarity on your own problems, your own psychological stuff. And the kinds of problems that are going to be like those kind of problems, not like, this is how you pay your bills, but more like, oh, we have a deep fear of whatever. There's some self-sabotage going on, right? But it doesn't just have to be that, right? Because the 21st, we're all going to be with the sun in Capricorn every year. We're like, okay, what are our long-term goals? What are we accomplishing? What have we not accomplished? This is why so many people make New Year's resolutions. I think it's not just the new year. It's that we are in Capricorn season and we start feeling like we need to climb that mountain. But I digress. You might on the 21st be feeling like you need to accomplish something. And it might have more to do with either relationships, because it's your 7th house ruler. Leo rules your relationships. Like you need to accomplish something in your friendships or in your client work if you have clients, or in your current relationship, or maybe your partner is focusing on something they're accomplishing and you're talking about it behind the scenes. It can go a bunch of different ways, but focus on accomplishment and focus on accomplishment in a private way that is not normally visible is what I would say this is for everyone. On the 30th of December, the new moon in Capricorn is in your 12th house. So at the beginning of the month, we had that 11th house new moon about how are we going to show up in the world? How is our connection with society or our community? And then now we have the new moon in the 12th house of like, what's our connection with our own psychology? What's our connection with our own self-undoing? And that can be, if you do any kind of 12-step or stuff related to mental health, whether it's you or somebody else, it could be that, it could be you focusing on what you need to do to kind of recover from or face your own demons, so to speak. I don't think it means you have worse demons. I think it means you are becoming aware of what your demons are on this next level of growth in this next stage of life. And that new moon in Capricorn in the 12th is the time to set intentions for which demons of your own do you want to be free from, but also maybe there's some treasure too. Maybe there's some inner light and inner wisdom and inner depth that you want to reach as well. So that to me feels more like what the end of December is going to be for Aquarius is, where it's like, how can I know myself more deeply? And maybe that you're just with that question. And as the month progresses, maybe you'll get more of that answer in the next month. So that is what I have for Aquarius. Let me know if it resonated. I always love hearing from you, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye. Okay, so for Pisces, the month starts off on December 1st. We have the new moon in Sagittarius. That's in your 10th house of your career, your public life, what you're accomplishing, what you are known for. So this new beginning in what you are known for may not be the moment where this area of life is so filled up with energy. It's actually more likely the moment where this area of life is quieted down. So a quiet phase of your identity, your public life, what you're known for. Maybe there's a new beginning in work happening where it's like you're starting a second job or only job, or you're doing a side hustle, or you're beginning a business that you want, to become your work, or something else related to reputation. So for other Pisces, maybe it's like getting a promotion or starting some new tasks at a current job where the actual, what you're known for doesn't change. It's just that it's like a new beginning toward that. Okay. So be open to new beginnings in your public life. And again, that could be any kind of new cycle, right? So it doesn't have to be the end of one job, the beginning of another one. Like the only example I can think of is like myself. Like let's say, you're a YouTuber, and on for the first time ever, someone recognizes you in public, right? So it can be any kind of thing like this where it's apply it to your own work and what you do now, but it can be like that. Okay, on the 6th, we have Mars retrograding in Leo in your 6th house. Now think about what was happening around November 4th when Mars entered Leo and changing related to how you spend your time, how you spend your day-to-day habits. Were you cutting something out? Were you cutting out a habit? Were you cutting out spending? Were you really working hard, right? Because Mars rules your 2nd house, also your 9th, but that 2nd house of money in the 6th house, it's like 2nd house ruler, It's like, how are you working hard to make money? And what is going on the 6th that ends that, stops that, or changes the direction of that? So it could be that you were hustling in November and now you don't have to hustle so much because you hustled enough that you don't have to hustle anymore, right? Or it could be something else, but think about what was speeding up, right? What was speeding up early November since Mars has been in Leo? And that thing, whatever it is, that might be the thing that ends up changing direction, slowing down, or just going in a different direction. So I don't think a lot of Pisces are going to like have job endings, but it does feel like you could pick up some side work or something related to finances and money. It does feel like it's definitely percolating here. Now, and it may not be like It might be like something you've been working on. You're done with the busy phase of it, or it changes direction and there's a little bit more of a busy phase. And then once Mars goes back into Cancer, it'll be less busy or something. On the 7th, Venus enters Aquarius. That's your 12th house of isolation. It is your 12th house of, it does, when Venus goes in the 12th, sometimes this is like bed pleasures. Okay, so there's that possibility of that type of enjoyment, but it can be enjoying any 12th house activity, which is something you do in private, which is anything you do in private, which is like prayer, meditation, having the best meditation, right? Having the most clear messages coming in, having a great therapy session, right? Like it could be any 12th house thing that's designed, where you're initiating it and you're trying to understand your own psychology. With Venus here, it makes it easier. It makes it easier to see how you have been self-sabotaging, if that's something you want to look at this time. It makes it easier to see like what you're doing toward it. You know what I mean? Because like sometimes we don't really want to look at that. So that can be it. But Venus ruling the 3rd, Venus ruling the 8th, it's like there's a level of intimacy that might be coming, private intimacy. Okay. Some Pisces on the 7th of December, maybe there's this beginning of more intimacy, or intimacy in a different way that's a little bit more either spiritual or just isolated in some way. But again, this could also just be you doing stuff by yourself that you really love doing and enjoying the shit out of it. So it could be that. On to the 15th, where we have the full moon in Gemini in your 4th house of home. So you might be home more. You might spend a lot of time at home. This really confirms and sort of echoes the feeling of privacy. Maybe you have more time to yourself, or you're working from home and you're just spending a lot of time at your house. Maybe you are getting ready to move. Not everyone will be, some might be, or you're cleaning out the closet, or there's a lot more to do at home. Or that 4th house is also your emotional foundation. So it's like focusing on your feelings, focusing on what's aligned, focusing on your family of origin and those patterns. And like, it really might be a month where you are getting down to the real core and the real heart of what needs to be resolved within you in your subconscious mind. Not everyone will be, but that's one strong potential here I'm feeling. Also, that 4th house, it's like, are we aligned with our life right now? There's more of a capacity to be connected to how we feel and what feels right for us when the 4th house is activated. So if you want to work with this full moon, even though I know people say the new moon's the beginning and the full moon's the ending, if you want to work with this full moon, journal on the 15th about how you feel on anything you want to get to the bottom of. Because it's like there's more illumination there. There's more reflecting. And also on the 15th, Mercury goes direct in Sagittarius. That's your 10th house. So there might be a new plan of action related to work, your public life, your public role. So most people, that's their job or their business. But if you're not working, it's what you're doing, what your role in life is. So like if you're stay-at-home mom, it's mom or whatever. So Mercury, or if you're stay-at-home dad, it's dad. But Mercury rules that 4th house and the 7th house. So it's like, maybe you're putting something out there publicly. Maybe some Pisces are announcing that they have a relationship. Maybe other Pisces, their partner is getting, some of you, because it rules the 7th house, it can be your partner is getting making a speech and you're listening to it, or they're just making a speech and that's just what it is. But ruling the 4th house might be your family of origin, or the way you feel, or your emotional foundation becomes more of a topic of discussion publicly in some way. That could be part of it, but it could also be that like you're moving and there's something about, it's like you're moving, but then the house you're moving to becomes more of a public conversation or more of a social conversation, or you're taking pictures of it or something where it's visible. Your house is visible on the 15th. Maybe if you're selling the house, this is the day you list it or something. But overall too, when Mercury goes direct on the 15th, we want to think about what was happening, because Mercury rules your 4th house and your 7th house. What was happening with relationship changes, back on the end of November, what was happening with your own feelings and how you were changing how you felt, or realizing that something wasn't right related to other people, client work, related to your significant other if you're in a relationship, or just the other people around you. And it's not like there was something horrible, but maybe something needed to change related to relationship dynamics, or related to how you feel, or maybe there was something going on with family of origin or something, or moving. Either way, on the 15th, when Mercury goes direct in that 10th house, it's like now you have the plan for the quest you're going to go on. And maybe you needed to figure out the physical foundation where you're going to live. Maybe you needed to figure out who you were going to be with when you did it. Maybe you needed to figure out how to connect with other people's feelings in order to like get clients or something. There could be a bunch of different ways this is showing up, but it's like on the 15th for Pisces, that 10th house, Mercury direct, is like, now we have a plan for going forward. Maybe we now have our needs met. So now we can figure out the rest, or maybe there was something at work that we had to figure out, and now we figured it out, and we're back going forward, feeling like, things are in motion again. All right. So, this does feel like a clarity in our direction, and a clarity in our plan moving forward, especially when it comes to our professional life. And maybe something with the home, or with the relationships, or with others needed to get put into place before we could do that. Going on to the 21st, when the sun enters Capricorn, that's your 11th house of social life, right? So it's going to illuminate your friend circle. It's going to illuminate who you're connected to in groups. That could be online or in person. The sun in Capricorn for all of us illuminates what mountain we want to climb and how much we've accomplished. But for you, the sun rules the 6th house, and that's like what you've been working on. So I think some of you might be publishing something you've been working on, especially if you have like a social media audience. This might be a time where you've sharpened your skills, or you've worked on something that you're putting out there. Or that maybe it's something you did in the past that you're getting some visibility on, or work you've done with friends, or how you've been of service to someone. Maybe you are, the 6th house is like the work that we do, the chores that we do. And so it could be, you're doing chores so people can come over or something, so you can have a party. But for a lot of Pisces, there might be something else going on about how are you putting the work that you've done out there? How are you polishing? It's like you're polishing something you already did so that it's more suitable for public consumption. And that could be anything. And it could be your own furniture, right? But anything that would make sense for where you are in your life right now, as far as what skills you've been developing, what acts you've been sharpening, and what you've been working on. So then on the 30th, we have that new moon in Capricorn in your 11th house. That's going to be your, again, new beginnings related to your audience, related to your hopes and dreams, related to the people you're around. So maybe on the 30th, you realize maybe on the 21st, you lose a friend or something, or maybe on the 21st, you realize that what's missing in your social circle, or you realize what's great about it. And then on the 30th, you're ready to set new intentions, or kind of begin something new related to a social thing. Maybe a social thing, or an online thing, or a group project has come to an end. And now on the 30th, it's like quiet time. We're all done now. It's the end of that phase, and now ready for a new cycle. I know people think new moons are not endings, but they are endings. They're endings and new beginnings. So you usually don't feel like it's a fresh new moment on the new moon. You're usually aware of what just concluded. So what just concluded in your 11th house of friends, audience, or just like what chapter ended related to a group thing you were in. And it might just be a normal one that you already knew was coming, and it's fine. But there's an empty space there now. And so you get to either just chill with that empty space, or you get to think about what you want to put in that empty space now. Okay, so for Pisces, we have focus on career, reputation, focus on work-life balance, or how we have the support from our home, from our environment, from, the foundation. Do we have the foundation we need to live out our highest potential? And what needs to change? New plans related to work, new plans related to our public life and our work going forward, and possibly some fun toward the end of the month when that sun goes into Capricorn, even though I know Capricorn is not known for their fun. But there is something that just feels like it could be enjoyed with that transit as well. So lots of potential for Pisces to kind of make changes or be focusing on work-related stuff and career and like your public image and how you're using your skills to help the world, really is what I feel for Pisces this month. And a little bit of private fun, whatever that looks like to you. So that's what I have for Pisces. Be sure to check out my guide to your midheaven. It teaches you how to align your midheaven, and then you get on my email list, and then you'll know when I do an event or when I do a sale on readings or anything else. So join that, click below, it's free. And I hope you have a beautiful rest of your 2024, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye guys.